Hello internet users! So a while ago I made some videos discussing some softlocks you can do in the first generation of Pokemon. Well, after giving it some thought, I decided that continuing these kind of videos under the hidden content name wouldn't be a really good fit. So welcome to a new segment I'm going to call Softlock Picking. And like last time, today we're going to be basing the subject of this episode off of what you, the comments, have sent in. After all of my messing around with Gen 1, one of the most popular ideas suggested to me was different methods you could use to potentially trap yourself with only the game's weakest Pokemon in your possession, Magikarp. After going through all of the different comments, messages, and emails I've gotten, I've put together all of the ideas seen in these suggestions and have created 3 scenarios that, according to all of you, should be impossible for anyone to escape. And today, I'm going to be putting that to the test. Bear in mind though that like before, the use of outside help such as cheating devices and connecting to other games is not allowed. We're going to attempt to escape using only the game and the game alone. With that out of the way, let's jump into the topic you've all been demanding I do more of, making Pokemon not fun to play. The first trap takes the least amount of time to set up. Simply start a new game and play it normally until you reach the Pokemon Center outside of Mount Moon. It is here that we can buy a level 5 Magikarp from this man. Now to set the trap up, complete the following tasks. Once you have the Magikarp, make sure that all of the trainers up to this point have been defeated. Next, get rid of all of your money and items, including all of the hidden ones found on the ground that are available to you up to this point in the game. If you recall from the previous softlock videos, this is in order to make it impossible for us to gain money, which could then be used to buy Pokeballs. However, keep in mind that there are some items inside of Mount Moon, so as a part of the last step, you'll need to pick up all of the ones that can be obtained before coming across an unavoidable trainer fight. As a point of reference, this Team Rocket grunt here marks the farthest you can possibly go without battling any trainers. And finally, release all of your other Pokemon. And with all of that, the trap is complete. Because our only Pokemon is a level 5 Magikarp that just knows Splash, we're unable to defeat the trainers required to progress through Mount Moon to continue the game. And because we have no way of obtaining any more money, it isn't possible to buy any more Pokeballs. And because we can't buy Pokeballs, we can't catch any Pokemon that know any offensive moves. In theory, our Pokemon journey has come to a complete halt, with no way to move forward, so there is no choice but to start the game over from the beginning. This particular setup was the most popular one sent in to me when it came to trapping yourself with Magikarp. I'm honestly kinda surprised though, because well, it's not too difficult to figure out how to get out of it. To sum up the solution in one word, struggle. Since Magikarp only knows Splash, the only way for it to deal damage is by exhausting its PP to the point where it has to attack with struggle. So if you use struggle, then even a weak Magikarp should be able to slowly but surely level up to the point where it could learn tackle, or even evolve into Gyarados. However, there was a comment that raises an argument to that. The logic here is that because Splash has 40 PP, it wouldn't be possible to exhaust it in battle before you'd be knocked out. And even if you're up against the Metapods and Kakunas that only know Harden in Viridian Forest, their defense would be too high by the time you could use Struggle, which means you'd end up knocking yourself out from recoil damage first. And of course, when all of your Pokemon have fainted, you'll be sent back to the last Pokemon Center you visited, with all of your HP and PP restored. However, I regret to inform you, Mr. Elf Monster, but you've overlooked an incredibly obvious flaw in your argument. All you have to do is exhaust your PP against the Cocoon Pokemon, and just run from them. After that, you can use Struggle to KO the various weak Pokemon found at the start of the game. Doing this is incredibly tedious, as your Magikarp will eventually faint from struggling, and once this happens, you'll have to spend 40 turns staring at a Metapod or Kakuna just to be able to attack again. And unfortunately, as I learned from doing this, you'll only be able to take down 1 or 2 wild Pokemon each time. Also keep in mind, healing at a Pokemon Center will restore Splash's PP, so there isn't anything we can do about Struggle's HP drain. And since we don't have any access to money or items, that means we can't stock up on potions either. The amount of time it will take to level up Magikarp enough to evolve is so ridiculous that you're much better off just starting a new save file and replaying to where you left off. In fact, I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say that you could go on and finish the rest of the game, and that would still take less time. But even though this is clearly not the most efficient method, the point of this experiment is to prove that it's not a situation that is impossible to escape from. So after much time has passed, no really, this took forever and it's hardly an accomplishment worth bragging about. The Magikarp will level up enough to learn Tackle, which will speed things up towards getting a Gyarados. And once you have that, you'll absolutely have no trouble continuing your Pokemon journey as if you were never even stuck in the first place. So sorry comments, but this isn't the game-ending situation you thought it was. But that scenario is just a taste of what's to come. Now let's try doing this somewhere else, with trap number 2. Same premise as before, you want to release everything but a level 5 Magikarp, with no way to gain money or items. However, the point in the game we're going to be doing it at this time is the Indigo Plateau, right before the game's final battle against the Elite Four. For this setup, also make sure that the last Pokemon Center you used was this one here. This is to ensure that when you black out, you will always return to this location. The logic of this trap is as follows. Because Magikarp is our only Pokemon, we can't possibly take on the Elite Four, meaning we have no choice but to leave and come back with Pokemon that can. And this is where you realize that doing so isn't so simple. Without a Pokemon that knows Fly, the only way to go back is through Victory Road. But without a Pokemon that knows Strength, that isn't possible either. And even if there weren't boulders in the way, once you make it back to the entrance of the area, you'll find this body of water you have to swim across to get back to Viridian City. And of course, we don't have a Pokemon that can surf either. Although we have to have HM3 and HM4 to even make it to this part of the game, at this point we've already released whatever Pokemon we used to get here in the first place. And without a way to get Pokeballs, we can't catch anything that would be able to learn those moves. With the way things are now, it seems like we're completely screwed. The end of the game is just out of reach, and we're left with no choice but to hit New Game on the main menu. But is that really the case? Of course, Magikarp is unable to learn any TMs or HMs, but Gyarados can, and Surf and Strength happen to be the only HMs that it can learn in this game. So like before, if we can evolve Magikarp, then that means we can escape the trap. But the question now becomes, how do we do that? Out of all the wild Pokemon we can find in Victory Road, there isn't anything our level 5 Magikarp can possibly beat. But there is still an answer. If during your playthrough you picked up the Old Rod, you can still fight against Pokemon weak enough to defeat with struggle. Simply walk into Lorelei's room and use the Old Rod at the side here. You will always fish up a level 5 Magikarp, no matter what body of water you fish at. Once you're in a battle against Magikarp, you're going to have to sit through 40 turns of splashing before you can use struggle. Like before, this is going to be another test of patience. It will take quite a long time to get a Gyarados from grinding off of Magikarp. But once again, the point here is to prove that we aren't permanently stuck, no matter how ridiculous the method of escape may be. Though let me tell you, there is something really humiliating about constantly dying from a Magikarp in Lorelei's room. And sadly, that is going to be happening for a while until you get this thing's level up. Yeah, this is clearly the kind of show that you shouldn't be playing along with at home. At the very least, if you want to find a way to amuse yourself while you're doing it, you can always fish in the statue. Yeah, for some reason you can both fish and surf on every one of these in the game. It's kind of fun to mess around with, seriously, try it out for yourself. Anyways, eventually we get ourselves a Gyarados, which we can then teach Surf and Strength, and then use to leave the Pokemon League. And just like that, we've escaped another trap. But I'm not quite satisfied with this outcome. I'm sure right now some of you are thinking, isn't the Old Rod an optional item? What if you didn't get it earlier in the game? And you are correct. It is entirely possible to ignore picking up the Old Rod while playing the game, meaning that if we were to trap ourselves outside of the Elite Four without ever receiving it, we would not be able to use this method to get out. So I decided to up the challenge a little. Would it still be possible to escape from the Indigo Plateau without the use of the Old Rod? Well, if you know me, you'll know that I just love to solve pointless puzzles like this, so let's break it down and find out. The first goal is to find a way for our level 5 Magikarp to gain EXP in an area where the only wild Pokemon we can find are at a ridiculously higher level, meaning that out of all of the ones available to us, we need to find a method to make one faint in battle while Magikarp survives and receives EXP. But is there really any possibility for such a thing to occur? Actually, there is, and it can be done with two of these Pokemon, Geodude and Graveler. Why these two? Because at the levels they're both found at in Victory Road, they will know some very helpful moves for this escape plan. Self-destruct and Explosion. I think you can see where I'm going with this. If either of these Pokemon use one of those moves and misses, then they will KO themselves, leaving our Magikarp free to reap a nice reward of EXP. meaning that it can level up without actually having to battle. However, both Self-Destruct and Explosion have an accuracy of 100%, which means that in order for it to miss, we're going to have to rely on the infamous 1 in 256 glitch. For those unfamiliar with this glitch, I'll sum it up simply. Due to how the Gen 1 games check accuracy, moves that are supposed to never be able to miss have a 1 in 256 chance of missing completely. This is of course assuming that status moves such as Sand Attack or Double Team aren't in play. Although the odds are annoyingly small and it will no doubt take some time to do, it's certainly possible to use this method to level up your Magikarp to the point where it can evolve. But once again, I have to say that it would still take less time to play through the game from the beginning. Once you have your Gyarados, you can teach it the 2 HMs and escape to Viridian City. But why stop there? After everything I just endured, running away hardly seems like the most elegant escape. So how about I finish it this way instead? After much more grinding, I got the very same Gyarados up to the max level, and soloed my way through the Elite Four and Champion. What's that, comments? I was supposed to be trapped forever with a Magikarp? Pardon me while I just waltz through the Hall of Fame with my level 100 Gyarados. And with that, the score is 2-0. Okay, now we're on to the last trap. This time the challenge is to escape from Cinnabar Island. You know the drill by now. No money, no items, and no other Pokemon. Also be sure that your last heal was done at this area's Pokemon Center, and that all of the trainers in the gyms and Pokemon Mansion are defeated. And just in case you forget, make sure that among the other Pokemon you released, the resurrected Pokemon of the fossil you picked up at Mount Moon is included. Both of them are capable of learning Surf, so we need to get rid of them to make sure we're actually stuck. If you'll recall from earlier, the simplest solution here would be to just use the old rod at the water, slowly grinding off of other Magikarp. However, once again, I'm going to ban the use of this due to the fact that you can choose not to pick it up while playing through the game. This is where things got a bit tricky for me. Without the rod, it seems as though there really is no possible way off the island. At first, I was confident that I could go into the Pokemon Mansion and rely on the 1 in 256 glitch to cause a wild coughing or wheezing self-destruct attack to miss, just like in the previous trap. But there are some problems with that idea. First of all, both of these Pokemon cannot be found in Yellow version. And second, in Red and Blue, the highest level that a coughing could be found here is at level 35. And the highest you can find wheezing is at level 42. And what level do these Pokemon learn self-destruct? Level 43. That's right, the possibility to escape this trap is just out of reach. I've tried looking into different options, but none of it has gone anywhere. So it looks as though stranding yourself on an island with just Magikarp truly is impossible to get out of. This one is unfortunately a failure. And there you have it, ridiculous ways to get out of ridiculous situations in the Gen 1 Pokemon games. I'm sure at this point there are probably a few of you asking, well, what about the remakes? I've talked about this before, but the possibility to create situations like these would be addressed by Game Freak in later generations. In future games, including the Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes, you would be unable to release your last Pokemon that knew an HM move. Attempting to do so would cause it to return with a message saying that it was worried about you, thus preventing the player from doing something stupid, whether it be intentional or not. As for whether you'd actually find a practical use for any of these solutions I offered in the video, well, there probably isn't any. I mean, let's face it, you'd have to be absolutely insane to do this to yourself. Unless maybe you do this to like a friend's game. You shouldn't do that though, that's kind of mean. But anyway, that about does it for this video. If you've got a suggestion for getting yourself trapped in any of the other generations, or even in a game that isn't Pokemon at all, feel free to send it my way. Who knows, maybe I'll end up making another one of these. Maybe some of you have even figured out a way to escape the trap that I couldn't. Go ahead and let it be known down below. My name is Picaspri, and thanks for watching. Hey there, welcome to the end of the video. If you'd like to see the original softlock videos I did that led to this one, you can click the things that will appear on screen in just a moment. And if you're in the mood to see me do some more unnecessary and dumb things in Pokemon, you can check out my other channel where I've currently started a playthrough of Pokemon Crystal using only a party of 6 Smeargles. Guaranteed to be an even bigger waste of time than this video was. That's it for now, see y'all next time.